Welcome back to my channel. This is Tuesday, so that means it's time for another video. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new here to the channel, please like, comment, share, or subscribe to get new content. Today is going to be a little bit of a different video. First, I'd like to point out, as always, today and as well as every day, with my channel, know that you're always welcome, and know too that it is a safe space. So that said, we are here ready now to do today's video. Today's going to be a little different. If you watched the first two videos, they were kind of a little bit more serious topics, whereas today is going to be something a little bit different. Today, we're going to be talking about Star Wars, Clone Wars, Wild Space. I'm doing a book review. If you've read this book, I have to say that it isn't necessarily one of my favorites. However, I do rather enjoy it. It is probably one of my favorite as far as Clone Wars, the Clone Wars series goes. This is going to be a spoiler review, so if you are interested in reading the book and you would like to not be spoiled, now is your time to go ahead and clock off. Or click off, I should say. If you are definitely interested in finding out what I have to say about this book, then please stay tuned in. Yeah. So this book, let's get into it. So this book takes place with Anakin Skywalker. He is he's no longer a Padawan. He has been elevated to Jedi Knighthood way too soon. Yoda and the Jedi Council kind of unfortunately feel. And they're not realizing, this is kind of when you start noticing that they're not realizing his true potential. They fear something in him, and if you've read or watched any of the movies, you know what this is. So this book, the thing about this book though, is it has several different plots, several different premises, and basically this book kind of toggles between two of the major points. You have Obi-Wan Kenobi and Bail Organa, who Bail Organa is the senator from Alderaan, have to go journey to this planet. They first go to a space station because Bail Organa has been in contact with somebody who he doesn't exactly know who they are, but they have information relating to the Sith. So he gets Obi-Wan Kenobi to go with him to experience this very odd request to please join us, or please come and we'll give you information to help the Jedi. So they go and take that on. Meanwhile, Anakin has his own apprentice, and they are going to they have to go to the shipyards where they build the ships and have to effect repairs because they're going to go out and try and foil the Separatists. Separatists are still at it. They're trying to raise the droid army to take over the Republic, and that is basically the premise through the, as you know, the Revenge of the Sith, if you've seen the movies. So, back to Obi-Wan, and there's not really much to be said left for Anakin. He appears a few times, but he's definitely not the focus of the book. Now, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi and Bail Organa. They make... They kind of have some issues along the way. It's kind of... Obi-Wan has a complete mistrust of politicians, and he's very outspoken and basically says to Bail, I don't trust you. I don't really care for you. But yeah, let's go ahead and look into what this is. And so they kind of butt heads a little bit, and they're trying to make the best of a situation. The closer they get to Alinta's space station, Alinta is the woman that they're going to meet, but they don't know, they're not quite sure what they're going to find there. And Bail had no idea that his contact was even a woman, because up until right before they meet, they make it to the space station, she had been communing with Bail with coded short bursts on the comlink. So they make it to the space station, and just before Obi-Wan and Bail make it to the space station, there is a pirate attack. And so they get there, and they find, the first thing they see is a dead body as they step into the airlock. And so they go into the control center, and it's immediately a battle. And there's this one woman by the time they get there against 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 guys and several battle droids. So the battle droids, they take the battle droids out. You got Obi-Wan Kenobi basically taking charge and doing his Jedi thing. Bail is trying to make his way, as he's battling, he's trying to make his way to the woman who identifies herself by jumping up from a computer console, and waving the comlink, so that Bail knows exactly, hey, I am your contact, and if we make it out of this, we'll talk. It's not to be, though. They do get to talk, but Alinta is struck down by, it doesn't say who, but she is hit by blaster fire, and she goes down. But as the battle winds down, of course, Bail Organa and Obi-Wan Kenobi are victorious. Bail's able to go over and talk to her, and what you find out is she has information on a data crystal that leads to a planet called Zagula, which is a Sith planet that no one really knows anything about. So Bail, of course, takes the information. Bail takes the information. Now she passes on. They head back out to his ship, and they take off for Zagula. They had a little brief argument, because Obi-Wan had said, you're a politician, and if this is a Sith planet and there are Sith on it, you're not really going to be any help. And so Obi-Wan loses the argument, though. Bail and him go to make it to Zagula, and on approach to Zagula, this is where things actually start to pick up. Obi-Wan is hit by, or is taken over by a mysterious dark side force that basically takes over his mind, and he goes as they're landing the ship, he actually throws Bail Organa out of the cabin and throws him down the hallway, and Bail kind of, there's a lot of dialogue, where he's trying to figure out, what's going on. Obi-Wan can't stop what's happening. Like, he's been kind of taken over at this point. And so the ship essentially crash lands and basically breaks apart on Zagula's surface, and Obi-Wan loses consciousness. When Obi-Wan awakens, he is there's a voice imploring him to, quote, die Jedi, die Jedi, die Jedi, die. And you hear that basically narrative throughout the whole, almost the remainder of the time that they're on Zagula. So Obi-Wan, he's set with visions of him and Qui-Gon Jinn when they were working together as Master and Padawan. You see Bail is trying to be helpful. There's still some skepticism and some anger there, but he realizes that Obi-Wan Kenobi needs basically all the help that he can get. So he doesn't want to be too critical or be too negative, because they're basically all each other has. As they had flown in, they see a black Sith temple. So when they crash land, their plan presently is to basically walk to that Sith temple, because their ship is, of course, now a ruined husk. There's no way to call for help. There's no way to basically get any assistance. So they head for the Sith temple, and they go, and the story, it's kind of drab here, but I mean, if you bear with the story, I mean, it does kind of turn better, because the story, like, you learn a lot about Obi-Wan's character, because he's being tested and tested and tested by the Sith. And at one point, he almost gives up. They're walking through the forest of Zagula, and Obi-Wan is hit with basically a vision of a Sag Ventress who had turned to the dark side in the Clone Wars and went over to Count Dooku. And there was a vision of where he actually thought that he was fighting a Sag Ventress, but he, in fact, was basically using his lightsaber to cut down trees, and he'd basically gone insane. And he actually almost killed Bail Organa, and then, like, at the last moment, kind of was like, wait, like, he kind of snapped out of it and was like, well, now what's going on? Bail, like, where are we at? And then he snaps out of it. So there's a lot of that. So at that point, so they finally reached the Sith Temple, and by the time, like, so with each vision, Obi-Wan gets weaker and weaker and weaker. He's losing the light side of the Force. He's losing the ability to commune. Every time he opens himself to the Force, it's all the dark side, and it really shows his fear and his concern, because he's not sure if they're going to make it off this planet, and if they do, then he's not sure if he'll be able to get the light side back. Bail, ironically, who doesn't quite understand the Jedi, and at one point during the book, he's pretty outspoken against the Jedi, just like Obi-Wan is outspoken against politicians. It's kind of the same, skepticism. So Obi-Wan, they have to go down this ravine, and about halfway down the ravine, he falls to another, like, series of visions, and the visions, they take longer and longer. Bail is not sure that he can wake Obi-Wan up. He's not sure, like, what's going to happen. So at this point, he's just like, I'm going to go into the temple. So when they get over the lip of the ravine on the other side, they're right outside the temple. Obi-Wan passes out. He's gone to, like, he's not dead, but he's pretty much unconscious, and his spirit, it's described that his spirit is floating in between worlds. So, oh, and they also found out that pain kind of brings Obi-Wan back. So, like, at one point, Bail, like, actually, because Obi-Wan's pretty banged up, he's got a lot of bruises, and Bail actually punched or, like pressed on one of the wounds, and it actually was able, the pain was able to bring him out of those visions. I mentioned that because that's going to become relevant here pretty quick. So Bail Organa goes into the Sith Temple, and of course, nothing makes sense to him. So he comes out and manages to wake up Obi-Wan. Again, as kind of is their custom, they have kind of another argument of sorts, because Bail wants to go in there and says, if you're really as compromised as you say, Obi-Wan, you shouldn't be going in there. Let somebody else do it. Well, then Obi-Wan, of course, points out the fact that you wouldn't know what to look for. You have no idea you wouldn't recognize a Sith communication device. So, I have to be the one to go in. So he does. And every time he does, he goes in there, and the moment he goes in there, like, the Sith, like, they renew the assault on him. And so there's, like, as he's looking at each artifact, the Sith is, like, renewing their attack. There are no Sith on Zagula, but Obi-Wan finds a Sith holocron, which is a pyramid that a deceased Sith or a Sith at some point stored their power, their consciousness, whichever, into this pyramid and it's always a pyramid. Every Sith holocron, it's always a pyramid, or has been since the time of Darth Bane. That's another story, but Obi-Wan basically smashes the pyramid, and that kind of seems to weaken the Sith a little bit, but not like it doesn't seem, as much. Eventually, Obi-Wan finds this crystal, and as he picks up this crystal, the temple itself is starting to disintegrate, fall apart, collapse, what have you. So Bail runs in, grabs Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is pretty weak at this point. They go outside. Bail, of course, wants to smash the Sith, the crystal, but Obi-Wan points out that this, believe it or not, is the thing that is going to save them, because he needs to be able to commune with the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. Now, here's where the plot kind of gets a little different. Obi-Wan's having no luck. Obi-Wan asked Bail because he realized pain was the only way for him to be clear, and he's like, I need to be clear. So Bail Organa is talked into using Obi-Wan's lightsaber to very carefully kind of lay the blade on his leg so that he doesn't sever it, but he basically makes an incision. The pain essentially awakes him to the Force, and as this is happening, Yoda on Coruscant is searching the Force to kind of find a way to find Obi-Wan, because all they know is he's disappeared. There's no way to contact him. So when that happens, Obi-Wan's finally able to get through to Yoda. Rather than communicating with words, though, Yoda uses his mind to basically find out, work out kind of where they are. And so therefore, he sends Padme Amidala to go and find them, or go to Zagula with the coordinates that Obi-Wan was managed to convey to him through the Force, to Yoda through the Force. So Padme comes, gets them, and basically gets them off of Zagula, and is able to transport them home. Sometime later, the book kind of jumps forward. Sometime later, Yoda finds Obi-Wan sitting underneath the waterfall in the Jedi Temple. He's basically trying to commune. He's able to get back the light side, and he's able to get away from the dark and find his purpose again. So Obi-Wan, he talks with Yoda, explains kind of what happens, decides that he wants to give a full report, that he doesn't want to go too much into detail because nobody should have to relive that more than once. You learn that Yoda is kind of an unfeeling, he seems a little bit unfeeling here, and you see it with Anakin later, that he just, obey the Jedi with unfailing commitment and whatnot, and you shouldn't, grow attached to anything, and Yoda pretty much tells Obi-Wan this here. Shortly after this, the end of the book basically shows the Senate cafeteria where Bail and Padme are sitting eating dinner or lunch, and Palpatine he walks over, and as he's walking over, he's kind of thinking as Darth Sidious. He's like, how did Bail Organa and Obi-Wan make it off Zagula? You find out that Zagula was a death trap, basically set by Palpatine all along. It was a way to try to get rid of Organa and Obi-Wan. Obviously, he wants Obi-Wan dead because his later plans for Anakin, which they work out anyway, not to the way that he wanted. So he quietly sees that he's still alive, but he realizes that, you know what, we'll live to fight another day if I just let it go, and we'll kind of see what happens. This book was, it was a definite insight to like the Sith and their machinations, and how they can be both, how they can plot very, very effectively, very skillfully, very deceivingly, connivingly, whichever way you want to think about it. I enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite, but I did enjoy it. It was it really kind of shows you more in depth kind of what kind of goes on behind the scenes, kind of like with a lot of different characters, and that kind of helps understand the main parts of the story rather well. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to get more content. And thanks for watching.